Okay, welcome back. So this particular module is going to be a little different than the way we've done the previous ones. I'm doing kind of a live, I've got you on my Thinkorswim platform, and it's about how to read a profit graph. And this is really important, I think, if you want to get into more sophisticated option positions. This is a super simple way to understand your position, understand the risks of your position, understand what happens to your P&L as price goes up and price goes down and time changes. And the challenge with this, of course, is this is Thinkorswim. If you don't use Thinkorswim, you're going to have a different platform. But I want to urge you to learn that platform really well and learn how to visualize your position. Most brokers that support options have something like this. It's not might not be exactly this. They have their own way of laying things out, but there's something usually that's very similar. All right, let's construct a couple really simple positions and take a look at what they look like in a graph format. And that's really what we're doing here. So I'm going to go. So by the way, today is June 30th. So I'm going to go out. Let's look at the Septembers, and Apple's currently selling for around just shy of 137. So let's look at, let's say I wanted to buy a 140 option. I'm just doing this super simple. I'm just going to buy, and this has a quantity. I'll just change it to 1 here. Oops, that's a 15. Okay. Now, let's look at this in a graph format. So what this says is, you can see that the cost of this right here, by the way, 460, and 100 of these, which is, remember, in options, a single contract controls 100 most of the time. So you'll see that here it basically, this represents a $460 loss. And so here on the left is my P&L. This is how much money I'm going to make. And on the right, I'm sorry, on the horizontal axis is the price of the stock. So what you see is you've got Apple currently, right in this area at what did we say, 137, and you can see that if Apple were to go up, all of a sudden this P&L gets into the thousands very quickly. So if Apple goes to 160, I'm going to make somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,600. If Apple goes to 170, I'm going to make somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,500. That's off of my $460 investment. So we've looked at some things like this before, but this is just a simple graph that shows you exactly how it's going to happen. Now, one of the things that most of these graphs have is something called a T+0 line, which is the purple line, and a blue line, which is the expiration line. These represent different values. The blue one, in this case, is the value of my position at expiration. So, in other words, if Apple is at 137, if it never got to 140, what's going to happen is I'm eventually going to, this position, this option is eventually going to be worth a little less and a little less because there's less time. As time goes by, it will gradually sink down, and at expiration, it'll basically all of my value that I bought, the 460, will be gone. And so I will have paid 460, and that would be my total loss. That would be basically my investment. If Apple goes up, let's say it goes up to 149, today, the T+0 line is the value today. Today, it would be worth a little more because there's time value still built into this. So it would be worth, say, 800. And at 160, it would be worth 1600. But it would be worth a little less than that. You can see the blue is a little less at expiration. So the difference between what it's worth today and what it would be worth at expiration is kind of that difference between intrinsic and extrinsic value that we talked about in that module. So anyway, the main things to know here are there's a P&L gauge on the left, there's the price of the underlying across the bottom, and then there's usually two values. Most of these charts have two values. Now, there's lots of things you can do with this analysis page in Thinkorswim. That's why I love it. But this isn't a video about that. I would urge you, though, to learn your platform really well. Learn how to read these P&L graphs, because I'll be showing you some of them later on. And you're going to need to know how to use them. You can simulate, what happens if time passes, what happens if the price changes, and you'll see all that represented here. But this is just a sort of a super basic introduction to these profit graphs. Now, let's look at a slightly different one. I'm going to show you a little more sophisticated trade. And this particular one, let's say add simulated trade. We're going to construct something, it's called a bull put spread. This is a credit spread, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to sell the 145, so we're going to get a credit for that, but we're going to buy something cheaper, let's say the 130. We're going to buy that, that's a little cheaper, and this is all going to be, and so we sold one for 11 something and bought one for, a little less than 4. So we're going to actually get a credit of the difference between those two, 772. And again, let's change this to 1, just so we can look at a single one. And let's look at this guy. So this is a completely different animal, isn't it? What this says is if the price stays below this inflection point, which you can see is 130. Oh, what a coincidence. That's the price of this. Look at this inflection point up here, 145. Oh, what a coincidence. So you'll see that these will correspond to options that you buy and sell. But in this example, remember price is right here at 137. If we go below that and we stay down there, this thing eventually diminishes in value, but only to a maximum amount of what we have, a 728. On the other hand, if we go the other way, we'll get to keep all of this credit. So if we stay right here, we're going to end up basically with 0. That's where we are today. If we go up a little bit, let's say we go up to, I don't know, pick a number, 140, 142. If we did that immediately, it'd be worth 183, but you can see it'd be closer to $500 if we did it at expiration. So this is a different type of trade, but you can kind of see how easy it is, I hope you can see, to visualize your profit and loss. Here's the 0 line. This is profitable, this is loss, and you can sort of see. And so as we construct more complex positions over time, you'll get used to reading these graphs. And I know this is a little more of a complex lesson, and I know it also depends on what broker you use and what kind of platforms you have. And there's also platforms available not from brokers, from third parties, some really good ones. And I hope that you'll at least learn one. You need to learn how to visualize your P&L, how to visualize your position, and what happens if price goes up. Well, it's very easy when you look at this. If price goes up, in this case, I make money, and price could go to infinity and I make a fixed amount, and price can go down to 0 and I lose a fixed amount. It never gets any worse than that. Now, what if I did, and this is why this is important. Let's talk about what happens if you, I don't know, sell a call, okay? Let's say we want to sell a call, and we're going to go here, and let's look at our risk profile. I hope you can see that if you sell this call and things go down or stay the same, you're gonna make some money. In this case, you're gonna make I don't know, in the neighborhood of $2,200. But what's interesting is that if this thing goes up, you start losing and losing and losing to basically to infinity. So knowing that, as you can imagine, in terms of managing your risk, would be really valuable to say, wow, I have unlimited risk on the upside. Not sure I want to enter a position like that. So there aren't very many positions like that, to be honest, but there are some, and I think it's important to to understand them. So again, I know this is a little more complicated, but please spend a little bit of time where you can really kind of understand how to look at these and get a sense of how your position will behave. Hope that makes sense, and we will have more modules that use these graphs, so I think it will get ingrained over time, and you'll start to understand. Okay, thanks. I hope that's helpful, and we will see you in the next module.